Now, this is quite a story from NASA because for the second time in history, a man-made object has left our solar system.
For nearly 5 decades, the Voyager spacecraft had journeyed silently through the vast and empty reaches of space. A pair of mechanical emissaries from Earth launched in 1977 with a mission that initially seemed modest: explore the outer planets of the solar system. That mission was fulfilled in spectacular fashion, but Voyager didn't stop there. Long after their cameras went dark and their planetary encounters ceased, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 continued their slow drift into the interstellar void, still whispering back to Earth faint data about the edges of our solar system and the darkness beyond. Their transmissions, growing weaker with each passing year, became more of a scientific vigil than an active exploration until something changed. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. On an otherwise unremarkable day, when the world's attention was fractured by the churn of daily headlines, a signal came through. Unlike the usual telemetry, this one bore characteristics that defied the established patterns of decades. It wasn't just the content of the message that drew attention, it was the form. Voyager 1, which had been transmitting basic engineering data and occasional measurements of cosmic rays and magnetic fields, suddenly broke protocol. The stream of familiar digital pulses had transformed into something structured, complex, and unmistakably intentional. Voyager had sent a message, but not one originating from Earth. Scientists at the Deep Space Network first noticed the anomaly. At first, the assumption was a data glitch, a cosmic ray impact, or perhaps a hardware fault, but analysis ruled out all conventional explanations. What they were observing wasn't noise or failure, it was deliberate modulation. The cadence, frequency variation, and patterns suggested a structure far beyond random cosmic interference. When the first interpretations began, the realization hit like an electric current. The message encoded something. Not telemetry, not technical data, but symbols, arrangements, language. Voyager had received a message, processed it, and sent it back. The implications were staggering. Voyager 1 was in interstellar space, over 15 billion miles from Earth. No known signal could have reached it from any human origin at that distance with such focused clarity. Something, or someone, had spoken through it. The timing, the sudden shift in output, and the nature of the message itself shattered every expectation humanity had about deep space communication. The world paused, gripped by the enormity of what was unfolding. The content of the message, though still being decoded, exhibited an elegance that couldn't be dismissed as random phenomena. Scientists recognized sequences that mirrored mathematical constants, golden ratios, prime numbers, and geometrical progression. Embedded within those sequences were patterns that, when mapped visually, formed intricate diagrams. Not just abstract art, but schematics, possibly even representations of spatial dimensions. It was as if the sender had chosen a universal lexicon, mathematics as a language of first contact. The public reaction was instantaneous and seismic. Within hours of the revelation, news channels interrupted their programming. Social media ignited into an uncontrollable wildfire of speculation, and global leaders were briefed in emergency sessions. This wasn't a cryptic anomaly buried in a scientific journal or a debunked conspiracy video. This was real. Voyager, a human-made artifact sailing through the blackness beyond Pluto, had become the medium for a message not of this Earth. For generations, humanity had gazed into the stars wondering whether anyone was out there. The golden record aboard Voyager, containing music, greetings, and artifacts of Earth civilization, was a hopeful gesture, a bottle in the cosmic ocean. And now it appeared that someone had answered. Not with a radio burst from a distant galaxy, not with a mysterious signal picked up by a remote dish, but through the very messenger we had sent. The content of the transmission wasn't just limited to numerical constructs. Deeper layers began to emerge as decryption continued. Temporal sequences hinted at a possible understanding of causality and time. Other fragments resembled acoustic waveforms, as if the message was meant to be heard as well as seen. The suggestion was not only of intelligence, but of profound sensitivity. Whoever had crafted the response wasn't merely reacting to our message, they were engaging in conversation. Speculation surged. Was the signal an automated response from a machine intelligence? A passive cosmic relay that had captured Voyager's passage and echoed something back? Or was it something far more complex? A deliberate message from a sentient being or civilization utilizing Voyager as a conduit. Some propose the idea of a communication threshold, that by reaching a certain distance from our star, our probe had crossed into a communicative perimeter, activating a protocol of contact. governments around the world coordinated quickly, establishing an unprecedented scientific alliance. This was no longer the concern of any single nation. Humanity, in its entirety, was the recipient. Theoretical physicists, cryptographers, mathematicians, linguists, and technologists were pulled into round-the-clock analyses, their efforts watched closely by a riveted global population. Every deciphered fragment brought more questions than answers. If this was indeed first contact, it was unlike anything previously imagined. The world stood still, not because of fear, but because of awe. This wasn't an invasion nor a threat. It was something purer, a moment of cosmic acknowledgement. We were no longer isolated observers. In one transmission, the universe had shifted from a place of wonder to one of response. The message might not have been a declaration or an invitation, but it was proof. Proof that we were not alone. Proof that our curiosity had not been in vain. Cultural impact rippled across every medium. Artists, musicians, and philosophers found themselves inspired anew. Songs emerged, echoing the patterns of the message. Paintings tried to capture the abstract essence of its diagrams. Thinkers and writers turned to ancient texts, wondering if the voice now speaking through Voyager had once spoken before in forgotten epics. Religions reacted in varying ways. Some saw confirmation of divine creation, others a challenge to long-held beliefs. But the overarching emotion across the planet was wonder, a shared, breathless anticipation of what might come next. The event also reinvigorated a long-dormant sense of unity. For the first time in recent memory, borders faded in relevance. Political rivalries dimmed against the enormity of the cosmic conversation. People looked skyward not with dread, but with hope, imagining a universe where civilizations, separated by unthinkable distances, might one day speak openly. This wasn't just an astronomical milestone, it was an existential awakening. There were practical consequences as well. Space agencies, once hampered by budget cuts and shifting priorities, suddenly found themselves at the forefront of the global agenda. Plans for interstellar communication infrastructure took shape. Missions that had languished in funding limbo were revived. Proposals to launch new probes equipped with more advanced capabilities for long-range dialogue became not just plausible but imperative. Scientists speculated endlessly about the sender. Were they local to the area Voyager was passing through? Had they been watching us all along, waiting for a sign of readiness? Or was this just the first node in a vast network, each relay point waiting for the signal of an intelligent agent to pass by? The questions spun out into the void, unanswered, tantalizing. Meanwhile, the technical teams studying the message found their assumptions stretched thin. Some elements of the transmission defied known computational models. It was as if the encoding carried within it principles of physics not yet discovered by humanity. Suggestions of quantum resonance, extra-dimensional structuring, or even syntactic expressions existing outside linear time began to circulate, not as fringe theories, but as serious possibilities. The Voyager probe, once thought of as a relic of a bygone era, had become the most significant object humanity had ever created. Its simple systems, designed with 1970s technology, had somehow bridged a chasm not only of space but of understanding. Its endurance was testament not only to engineering but to the spirit of exploration itself, the same spirit that now found itself face to face with a mystery beyond imagining. Media coverage reflected the magnitude of the event, but also struggled with its scope. How does one report on something that fundamentally shifts the human condition? Anchors spoke with hushed reverence. Documentaries were hurried into production. Podcasts dissected every known detail, every speculative angle. Forums and message boards erupted with interpretations, theories, and impassioned pleas for transparency. Despite the sudden prominence of Voyager, the scientific community exercised measured caution. They emphasized the need for continued analysis and urged the public to refrain from assuming too much too quickly. Yet even their cautionary tones couldn't suppress the extraordinary truth. Something had reached back. Something had noticed us. The golden silence of space had finally returned a whisper. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Voyager's latest message? What do you expect next? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.